Alrighty, let's get this straight. Paul Pelosi gets out of jail from his DUI just in time to buy 20,000 shares of stock in a computer chip company. And now Fancy Nancy is bringing a $52 billion subsidy bill for these chip companies to the House floor. Shady, shady, shady. A few weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi sold off millions in Google stock. And then yesterday, the DOJ sues Google. Coincidence? I don't think so. The Pelosi's are totally corrupt, but not a single major outlet has written about this transaction. America fired Pelosi as speaker, but she's still using her congressional seat to get rich. Shame on her.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he's received from you?
What are you saying?
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys, so I do this video probably every 3 months because this literally happens like every 3 months or so, where Nancy Pelosi once again gets caught insider trading because she just so happened to make the perfect trade at the perfect time before some action by the government that obviously is going to affect the price of a stock that the Pelosi's are trading on. Again, this is how you have people in Congress, okay, who make what, $180,000 a year, become millionaires overnight, okay? Stuff like this, right, that should be illegal, okay? These are white collar crimes that politicians are just blatantly able to get away with because they're politicians and they write the rules that people like me, when I was working in the financial services industry as a licensed financial professional, I had to follow these rules very strictly, okay? At my company that I work for, I cannot trade individual stocks without having to go through a whole regulatory process to trade, okay? All my accounts had to be monitored by the company I was working for, regardless of whether or not I actually like using the accounts. It was heavily regulated, right? Because, you know, we have access to information that, you know, other people don't necessarily have, or we potentially have access to information that other people don't have. So again, very heavily monitored, okay? And if I got caught making a trade I wasn't supposed to make or something like that, I would get fired, right? I would lose my job. But when it comes to the politicians, the rules don't seem to apply, right? They don't seem to apply, as insider trading seems to be completely legal for them and unmonitored and unregulated. And Nancy Pelosi has to be probably the biggest offender in Congress when it comes to these stock trades that clearly, in my opinion, it seems like her husband are trading with insider information, and she has been caught doing this once again. But before I get into it, I got to play this clip because I got to remind you guys, right? Nancy Pelosi has been questioned about this over the years, and almost every single time she's been questioned about this, she has an absolute complete meltdown because she's 100% guilty.
If I'm a corporate executive and you're a senator and I give you IPO shares in stock, and over the course of one day that stock nets you $100,000, that's completely legal.
And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband had participated in at least 8 IPOs. One of those came in 2008 from Visa, just as a troublesome piece of legislation that would have hurt credit card companies began making its way through the House. Undisturbed by a potential conflict of interest, the Pelosi's purchased 5,000 shares of Visa at the initial price of $44. 2 days later, it was trading at $64. The credit card legislation never made it to the floor of the House. Congresswoman Pelosi also declined our request for an interview, but agreed to call on us if we attended a news conference.
Madam Leader, I wanted to ask you why you and your husband back in March of 2008 accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa at a time there was major legislation affecting the credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point point that you want to make with that?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential and favorable stock deal?
Well, we didn't.
You participated in the IPO.
Well, I have many
and at the time you were
investments, but I
Speaker
don't
of the
think-
House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest or had the appearance of a conflict of interest?
It only has appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
I don't understand what part's not true.
Yeah, so it's really a damn shame that politicians are allowed to participate in initial public offerings, okay? It is extremely hard for the average individual to participate in an initial public offering. I mean, you have to literally be an accredited investor, right, to get access to those type of restricted securities, okay? Again, politicians having special treatment that they shouldn't have. And Nancy Pelosi has a history of taking advantage of this to the fullest. And she's been caught doing this again as Paul Pelosi, a.k.a. Nancy Pelosi, right, sold Google shares prior to the DOJ antitrust lawsuit that has been issued against Google. So the Pelosi's sold some Google shares right before the DOJ announced that they were investigating Google with an antitrust lawsuit. Just saying, one of many of these perfectly timed trades from the Pelosi's happening once again. So let's read here. Paul Pelosi, the multimillionaire husband of former House Speaker and current Rep. Nancy Pelosi, sold 30,000 shares of Google stock a month prior to the Department of Justice's announcement of an antitrust lawsuit against the tech giant, according to a financial disclosure filed with the House of Representatives. Pelosi reported the sale of Google stock in 3 different transactions between December 20th and December 28th, 2022, each of which involved the sale of 10,000 shares of stock in Google's parent corporation, Alphabet Inc. The periodic transaction report filed with the House notes that each transaction involved an amount between $501,000 and $1 million and yielded capital gains of more than $200, although it is unclear how large the profit was. Taken together, the trades involved 30,000 shares in between 1.5 million and 3 million of assets. The DOJ and 8 states announced a lawsuit against Google on Tuesday, alleging that the company engaged in anti-competitive behavior and exercised a monopoly over internet search traffic. Yeah, again, the timing of this is strange, just like the timing of all of Pelosi trades. Amazing stuff. Quote, Google's anti-competitive behavior has raised barriers to entry to artificially high levels, forced key competitors to abandon the market for ad tech tools, dissuaded potential competitors from joining the market, and left Google's few remaining competitors marginalized and unfairly disadvantaged, the DOJ and the states allege. The Pelosi family stock transactions have attracted scrutiny in recent years prior to Congress' passage of the CHIPS Act last year, which was ultimately signed into law and provided a roughly $52 billion subsidy to boost domestic computer chip production. Paul Pelosi bought between 1 million and 5 million shares of NVIDIA. Now, I can tell you guys for certain that NVIDIA has been a great return on investment for me. Okay, I bought some NVIDIA too. Okay, and it's been great. Okay, so I know for the Pelosi's it's been great, but I'm not I'm not insider trading. I just believe in it long term. There's a difference. In July, a spokesman for then Speaker Pelosi's office told Fox Business that she does not own any stocks and has no prior knowledge or subsequent involvement in any transactions. Of course, she's going to deny, I don't own any stocks. Well, I mean, again, your husband's the one trading, okay? But we know where he's getting information from. How is he pulling off these perfectly timed trades? Again, the Pelosi hedge fund is undefeated, okay? She has better returns than the best fund managers in the world, okay? And I know Paul Pelosi ain't that smart because look at the stuff he's been involved in, right? The guy clearly is not that intelligent. He's getting some help. I'm just saying. Allegedly, that is. All this is alleged, right? The spokesman said that Pelosi asked the House committee tasked with regulating members' financial disclosures to, quote, examine the issue of members' unacceptable noncompliance with the reporting requirements in the Stock Act, including the possibility of stiffening penalties. Legislation to ban members of Congress from trading stocks stalled at the end of the 117th Congress, although lawmakers have since reintroduced proposals on the subject. AKA Nancy didn't want any legislation that could possibly keep her from making money in the market introduced to the floor, even though she was speaker. She could have introduced it to the floor and made Republicans vote on it. See, again, that's the thing about stuff like this, like term limits, banning stock trades. I mean, everybody agrees with this. In regards to normal, regular, everyday people, we all agree with this. But the politicians won't do it, which tells you that the politicians are not doing it because they're benefited from it. They're going to Congress to get rich. They're not going to Congress to actually do and execute the will of the American people. And that's a problem. It's not even like I have a problem with Congress people making money off the stock market. I think they should be allowed to purchase broad mutual funds that track the market, but they shouldn't be trading individual stocks. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because I think that if politicians actually have some skin in the game in regards to the market as a whole, the economy as a whole, that incentivizes them to actually do what's best for the economy, to do what's best for the country. But in regards to their ability to trade individual stocks, like the way that Nancy Pelosi is doing it, she's clearly doing it based off of information that she knows about what's, going to pass in Congress, what's not going to pass. This is just, again, a flat out white collar crime. Something that, again, a normal person will go to jail for, and she's just getting away with it. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri introduced the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, the Pelosi Act, this week. That is actually very, very, very clever. That is extremely clever in the Pelosi Act. That is so hilarious, which would ban lawmakers in Congress from stock trading. Hawley reacted on Twitter to the news about the Pelosi family's latest stock trade. Quote, people have asked why I named my stock trade ban the Pelosi Act. Now you know why. Again, will Chuck Schumer bring this to the floor? Even though the progressive base wants it, even though the Democrat base wants this, will he bring it to the floor? Hell no, he's not bringing it to the floor. And that's the problem. We got to start electing leaders in Congress that are pushing stuff like this, that Josh Hawley's pushing it and actually willing to bring it to the floor, right? As long as people like Mitch McConnell, and when Kevin McCarthy claims that he's going to ban members of Congress from trading stocks, we'll see if he actually brings legislation to the floor. We got to start electing people who are just on board with this, right? It's like you have to have a non-negotiable position, okay? That's what progressives have in their movement, right? If we really want to drain the swamp, we have to have non-negotiable policies, okay? Progressives, if you don't support universal health care, you're not a progressive, right? That's literally what it is. If you don't support universal health care, they don't consider you a progressive. You're not going to get support. You're not going to get the money. We got to do the same thing on the right with conservatives when it comes to banning stock trading and term limits. If you don't support it, we won't support you, right? You're not going to get our support. I don't care how much you say you like Trump. I don't care how much you say you love Trump. You love America, America first. If you don't support banning stock trading and term limits, you can't get our support. I mean, that's what you got to do, right? That's what you have to do. Efforts to increase oversight and promote transparency into lawmakers' investments increased after revelations that then Senator Richard Burr abruptly sold hundreds of thousands of dollars from his investment portfolio after he received a closed-door briefing in February 2020 on the potential impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, so all the politicians knew what was about to happen, and they all knew that they was going to purposely crash the economy and then purposely revive the economy by spending trillions of dollars and giving it to big corporate America, right? Big Ponzi scheme, right? The largest transfer of wealth in history executed by corporate America and the politicians. Burr was investigated over the trades by the Securities and Exchange Commission, which announced earlier this month that it ended its probe without taking any action against him. Of course they didn't, right? They never punished their own, right? We investigated ourselves and we found nothing. It's unclear if the current Congress will hold votes on legislation related to the dealings of lawmakers and their families on financial markets. One of the main laws on the subject that is currently on the books is the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act of 2020. 12, which requires lawmakers to report stock trades to Congress within 45 days of completing a transaction. The law also prohibited the use of non-public information for private profit, including insider trading by members of Congress and other government employees. Again, no teeth whatsoever, right? It has no teeth, no enforcement mechanism. It's just there to say they have it. And as we see here, Nancy Pelosi is clearly taking advantage of the fact that there's no enforcement mechanism, and it's a damn shame. Okay, what she's doing is stuff that, again, normal people would go to jail for. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.